decided what variety of mango you would like to plant. The next step is selecting a tree. Here are a few things to consider. The first step is to decide what size tree you would like. The trees are sold by the size container they're in. So these are 3-gallon trees. This is the smallest mango tree that we sell. The next size is 7-gallon, and that's because it's in a 7-gallon pot. So the advantages of the 3-gallon tree include that they're cheaper, they're really easy to transport, and easy to plant. The advantages of the 7-gallon trees is that they're older and larger, so they can support fruit at an earlier or more quickly than these 3-gallon trees. They're not very difficult to transport, and of course they're going to be more money. They're almost twice as expensive as the 3-gallon trees. So it's a matter of how quickly do you want fruit, what your budget is, and what your particular circumstances as far as transporting. If you're going a long distance and you're unable to have a tree out of the, hanging over the trunk or something like that, you might want to get smaller trees. The 7-gallon fits into many cars completely, but still it's your choice. And another thing to consider is the size of the plant is determined not only by the age of the plant, but also the variety. So this particular variety is a more vigorous grower and more upright growth habit than this one. And so depending on the variety you have chosen, the trees in the 3-gallon and the 7-gallon containers could be quite a bit different in size. The next thing to look at is the health of the trees. Both these trees are very healthy. Leaves are nice and green and healthy. No flaws in either the branches or the main trunks. I'd like to point out at this point that this is, of course, not a flaw. This is where the actual graft was in this tree, and also in this tree. This is a little bit older tree, and so you see a bump here, and in this one the rootstock still has a green part, and you can see where the rootstock was cut off. This is normal, don't worry about it. But these are nice and healthy. One thing that I just found was this tree, which is a 7-gallon tree. It's wonderfully healthy leaves and branches, but I noticed right here, this part of the trunk is not healthy. So this plant is not for sale. What I will do is cut this plant down to healthy wood, and if it grows back into a nice tree, then it will be for sale. But check your trees first before you buy them. Make sure that there's no places like this in the trunk where you can see a crack and some rot. There was a small branch that had rotted, and the rot went into the wood here. So you don't want this. All of these other ones look lovely though. So healthy trees, healthy branches. It's important to buy grafted trees. One reason is that you have a known variety. If you plant a mango seed, you often get a cross between the parent of tree and another tree. Most of those new varieties are inferior to the tree that you got the fruit from. A second reason is you will get fruit much earlier than if you plant a seed. This is actually, the grafted area is actually mature wood. And the rootstock is the only thing that is young in this tree. They got grafting material from a mature tree, so this is like a branch of that old tree. A 3-gallon grafted mango tree will sometimes even fruit in the pot. Of course, you don't want it to fruit in the pot because that will delay the growth of the tree. Another reason to buy a grafted tree is that it is a much nicer looking tree than a seedling tree. Seedling trees tend to grow like giant pencils, where grafted trees produce lots of branches. These grafts here will look a lot different from the graft here. This is a cleft graft, and these other ones have been budded down when the trees were very young. So when you look for the grafts on the tree, make sure that you know what the different grafts look like. One other thing that I'll mention here is that the growth habit does depend a lot on the variety, and the look of the tree can be influenced by the graft. For this tree, I grafted right up here, and that's because I intentionally wanted the growth to start very high. It depends on your circumstance and your vision for the tree if you want a more traditional branching habit or a very unusual one. I had a customer a few years ago that wanted tall trunks and then a lot of branches. He got about 4 or 5 trees, and his vision was to make the side of his yard like a grape arbor. The trunks of the mango trees would be the columns, and then he was going to trim the canopies very flat, and so that he'd be able to walk under the mango branches. And that I thought was a very cool idea. So it depends on your circumstance and how you would like to grow your tree. Okay, after you've chosen the variety, look for a grafted tree that's healthy and in the size container that you would like.